Yo, guys, what's going on? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys my live stream discussion slash review on Eden Zero Chapter 271, which, we're looking at it, this is the, no, yeah, this is the sixth chapter in the current volume. So, for anyone that needs a little bit of a refresher course, volume 30 ends off on chapter 266. Case in point. And since then, now we're at a total of. I'm looking at the number schematics. There should be one. Yeah, 5. So this is like the fifth chapter. This is the fifth chapter in volume 31. And if I'm getting my guesses here correctly, 275 should be the end point of volume 31. Now, with that being said, what was the one thing I kept telling people when I came to Universe Zero? What was the one thing, the number one thing that I told almost everybody? Don't take Universe Zero for granted. What I kept saying. Look, the way how Hero was building up Eden Zero, with the stakes, with the consequences. Yeah, there have been some things here and there where it hasn't been perfect. Okay? Universe Zero by itself has not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But the one thing I always said was it was too good to be true. Okay? You had all these things coming in. Okay, Witch coming back. Now, Weisz's mother coming back. Elsie. Valkyrie. Like, the list goes on and on. Like Ziggy now is like back in the fray too, which I've been saying this for weeks. Ziggy ain't making it out of this. Ziggy going out. But the one thing I kept saying was that despite everything we were getting, all the fluff, is that I felt like Hero was gonna pull something, and it was gonna like ease the tension back. I'm like, whoa, hold up, like we really doing this like right here, right now? And this chapter kind of like reaffirms that. Now, that's the tease for this live stream discussion. Is just that by itself. So 271. Let's actually go into it. The title of the chapter, and it's quite fitting, is Their Lives or the Future, with a nice cover art of Shiki, looking real badass. Love it. But we pretty much continue exactly where we left off. You've got the Eden's 1 right next to the Eden 0 ship, and Hermit saying the self-destruct timer is now stopped, and all the dragons in this sector have ceased functioning. Then you have Weisz walking up, coming over. That should give us some time to breathe. With Hermit smiling in the background, not in the background, but like just in view. You just see her like looking over with like a smile. So you got a nice semi little, like Wormit moment right there. It's cute. Not gonna lie. But you see some damages that were going on with the ship. Then you get which now we only need to confirm that the Great Demon King and Lady Rebecca are safe after going to face Void. Then cut over and we get Ivory. Before I actually continue on with this, let me go ahead and close my my app. That way I don't have any disturbances going on while I'm streaming. But you got Ivory saying, "Oh please, they're fine." I mean, let's make no mistake, she fine too. And then you got Moskoy over there. Moskoy, look over to Valkyrie. It sounds like the ship is safe. Just a relief to hear it, is what Homura is saying. Then you get to Laguna. Anyway, I'm on board the one right now. What am I supposed to do here? Fair question. Very, very fair question. What are they supposed to do? Clean. Inside, is there no one else there? And Laguna goes on to say, yeah, not a soul. Then you got Jin. Good. We're on our way to join you. Then we swap back over to Witch. We should probably destroy it. And go over to Hermit and Weisz. Rebooting the Eden Zero systems. So the systems are being turned back on. You see like the lights flickering on. So yeah, the Eden Zero is like being fully operational again. Now, it's been a how many chapters has it been? Like two? I want to say two, if not three. Hold on, the Swords Dance, Hermit Special. Yeah, I want to say it's been like two or three. Let me go back actually, because it hasn't been like that long since we've seen Ziggy and Void. But if we're looking at this, because Void's been there for a bit. Because let me think, you get 264. Yeah, so 264, 265, by all accounts. Yeah, 265 Void's there. Yeah, and then 266 ends off with Ziggy showing up. So you get 267. 268. Yeah, so really it's only been like a couple chapters since we had last seen um wait, has it been a couple chapters? I don't think it's so. No, yeah, it was. Because we didn't get anything from Ziggy or Void. Or in this case, even with Shiki and Rebecca. We hadn't gotten anything from them for at least two chapters. So it's nice that we're getting their end of things again after a couple of weeks. And I mean, I think especially when you look at it from a volume standpoint, you had 267 and 268, relatively being the two big chapters that featured Shiki, Rebecca, Ziggy, Void. And then you go to 269 and 270, which it's been cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like 269, I didn't really mind too much in one aspect with Valkyrie. The Homura stuff, I do think could have been like better handled. And then 270, like that was more of like a group effort type thing. But the one big thing I always mention about 269 and 270 is that we didn't really get a whole lot on what happened 20,000 years ago between both Valkyrie and Brigadine, and then of course with Hermit and Killer. Not getting those two angles, I think it did kind of hurt the chapters in their own way. I will say that for sure. But now 271. Like I said, been two chapters. And now we get back to Ziggy and Void. And they're both looking over at one another. And Ziggy says, you designed that face based on a simulation of what you would look like as a grown man. Well, it's no wonder you'd end up taking after Shiki. But you're nothing more than a consciousness. You have no physical form, and you were originally human. So, it's pretty much Ziggy just saying, like, hey, look, I know deep down you're just a robot. That face is just what you would have looked like had you have been actually, been given birth, you know? That's what Void would have looked like. And he goes on to say the past is irrelevant. This is what I must do. I must destroy Mother. As we get, that was Void talking, that I must destroy Mother. And you get this nice, beautiful shot, by the way, like Mother just like sitting on top of an asteroid belt, which I almost went with this as the cover, like not the cover, but like the thumbnail for the stream. But what really spoke to me was what we were about to get next, because you have the ship coming through. You got Shiki, Rebecca, Pino, and Happy. And Rebecca makes a comment about like how she's a whole lot bigger than I expected, and Shiki's like bigger than I ever imagined. Then you got Happy, but it's true. Mother really exists. Then you got Pino. She's wondrous. To which you got Mother opening her eye. You got Shiki like in total disbelief, and she notices and says, "I've been expecting you, Shiki," and it throws him off. He's like, "Wait, what?" To which Mother says, "At the end of your exceptionally long journey, your adventure has brought you here at last." And Rebecca asks, like, how does she know Shiki? And this is where the doozy pops in. Okay, this is like when you get the big like, whoa, hold up, because she gives Shiki two choices. I will give you two options from which you must choose. Whichever option you choose, it will surely come to pass. And that which you don't choose will not surely come to pass. Consider this as like another fork in the road situation. Like, remember what happened on Nero 66 with Zhao Mei when she stepped in and she told Shiki like, "Hey, you got two choices to make. Like, you got a choice to make. You can either choose the left road or the right road." It's kind of like that, sort of. Except in this case, it's not a Zhao Mei. This is like the actual mother herself that's giving him that option. But she goes on to say, "You have my word as the mother of the cosmos." And this is the panel I'm using as my thumbnail, which is Shiki saying, "Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean? Why should I have to make that kind of decision?" And this is where things get super, super intriguing, because what Mother says is, because that was the agreement we made 20,000 years ago. The fact that she just dropped that out of the blue was like, whoa, hold on. There was an agreement that Shiki and Mother made 20,000 years ago, and I got an idea as to who she's referring to. She's referring to Ziggy, because if we're connecting the 20,000 years ago, like the flashbacks and everything, one of the last flashbacks, not the one with Witch, but not the one where Witch and Wizard like kissed, not that one. The one before that, I believe, you had Ziggy showing up on the planet, the planet that was dying. So obviously, she would know based on that yeah, okay, that's the person who's Ziggy is actually Shiki. So knowing that, it gets me kind of curious, because now you look at Sheik and he's like, "Excuse me, what do you mean we made an agreement?" But she says, "Now, will you save me, or will you take back the lives that have been lost?" And this is exactly what I've been referring to. When I started off the stream, what was the number one thing that I said? Is that all this fluff, all this like, you know, this goodness that we have right now in Universe Zero, don't take it for granted. Because I had a feeling going in that things are probably gonna get rough. Like, there was this seeping question I had in my mind of like, we're gonna eventually get the dread, the stakes. Like, hold up, what are we gonna do? Like, that is exactly the situation we are in right now with this. Because she tells Shiki, "Will you save me, or will you take back the lives that have been lost?" And she goes on to further explain, "If you save me, I will reclaim my rightful powers and assure unbroken peace from now into eternity. If you save the lives that were lost, I will cease to exist, and so I cannot guarantee your future. But those you hold dear will be restored to life. And again, Shiki's kind of taken aback by this. Like, what? I don't even need to think about it. Mother, I choose to save you. But she still goes on to say, that would mean the lives that were lost will never return. And he's like, well, nobody's dead in this world. And she, again, further goes on to explain, it seems we have a misunderstanding. The world of Universe Zero has not been finalized. Whether someone will die or live has yet to be determined. Should you choose to save me, the following will become certainties: the death of Valkyrie, the death of Witch, the death of all who live in this world but died in others: Ziggy, Elsie, Weiss's mother, and many more. And again, that leaves Sheik completely stunned, like, what? And the last panel we get for this chapter is Mother saying this. Knowing that, can you still choose to save me? And I'm gonna say this right now, like Hero, what a tease. Okay? Like, what a tease of a cliffhanger to leave us off on with this chapter. This chapter, by all accounts, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's amazing, not amazing plus. Wow, it's pure perfection down to the last part. Okay, when you look at where we start the chapter off, okay, you get to the aftermath portion of Weisz and Hermit versus Killer. You get the situation of what's going on there. Okay, Jin and Clean are about to hop on board the Eden's One to unite with Laguna. And likewise, the Eden Zero ship is being rebooted. Systems are being charged and everything. Plus, you also have a little bit more of a schematic situation between Ziggy and Void, and we learn some stuff from Ziggy's end of things. Of like, that's not your true face. That's just what you would have looked like if you were actually born as a human. But again, Void still goes on to say that, like, what happened in the past doesn't matter to me. I have to destroy Mother. Like, that is the end all be all for him. And the last third of the chapter, because I will say this, the two first 2 thirds of the chapter, I would have said is easily great, great plus material. But the last third of the chapter, definitely by leaps and bounds, is what elevates it from a great plus to a pure perfection. Because when you look at what we get, Shiki and Rebecca, this has been like one of their biggest goals since the start of Eden Zero, was getting to Mother. Since the very beginning, Volume 1, their whole objective, let's get to Mother. They finally got there. And it's not as easy as it seems, because the whole through line goal, get to Mother, make the wishes. That was the whole objective. And now we see what is about to come about. Because when you look at it, it's not just about, okay, we get to Mother, we get to make our wishes. No, Mother drops a bombshell of like, yo, this is about time, Shiki. I've been expecting you. And honestly, that changes the whole concept of like what she said at the end. No, beginning of chapter 2, where she says, oh, so you've left off on your journey, but which path will you choose? Will you become a hero of savior, or will you wreak havoc as the Demon King? That was the question she left out when first introduced. Now all of that is coming back into play, and man, it's It's crazy because when you really think about it, and again, something I always said was don't take anything in Universe Zero for granted. The dread, the stakes, Hero's gonna throw that back in some way, shape, or form. And I don't think it could have asked for any better than that, honestly. And plus, Valkyrie's the one that posed this question to Hamor of like maybe the dead were better left to be dead. You know, like yeah, I did die, but maybe that's what fate, you know, wanted out of me. And I feel like it's fate trying to like course correct itself. So now when you add that on top of what we have here, Shiki again, once more, is in a crossroads situation. What path is he going to choose? Now, I will address this because I can certainly see the fans, not just the fans, okay, but I can totally see Hero going in this direction because he's done this before. Okay, you have two decisions to make. When I look back at Hero's writing with Ravemaster, Gale posed Haru a similar question of like which path do you want to take? And Haru took the path of like choosing everything. In the case of Fairy Tale, now, in my opinion, I don't think Fairy Tale did it like as great or as good, but you had Igneel posing the question of like which path do you want to take, Natsu? The path of the demon or the path of the dragon? You only have two options. And the alternative Natsu came up with was, well, I'm human. And the reason why I say the Nazi situation doesn't really work, at the very least, too well, is because it shouldn't have been that easy. Okay? The case with Haru, I would argue, is that the reason why Haru's situation works is because when you look at it, Haru's goal, okay, you see the choices that Gale laid out for him. Which path do you want to choose? And Haru decided instead of just sticking to one path, I'm going to choose both of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if, say, Hero does something similar with Shiki and giving him a third option. What that third option will be, I mean, we have to take this into account. She says, if you save me, I will reclaim my powers and assure unbroken peace from now into eternity. If you save the lives that were lost, I will cease to exist. And so I cannot guarantee your future, but those you hold dear will be restored to life. What I want to say is this I don't think this is going to be a situation where Shiki picks both choices and is ultimately going to fix everything. I don't think that's what we're going to get. What I believe is going to happen is that because Mother mentioned that there was an agreement that Shiki made with her 20,000 years in the past, I believe next chapter we're going to go back in time and see exactly what happened with that conversation between Shiki and Mother. What was the deciding question? That what was the events that led to that question? And now that Shiki's here, what's the decision he's gonna make? And I do think, like estimation guess over here, I'm like 90% sure there's a third option. Now, what that third option is, I'll say this: I don't think it's gonna be a Nazi situation where it's like the easy way out of like, oh yeah, I'm this, so it's gonna like get rid of both scenarios. It's not gonna be that. I could see it being semi horror related, where maybe he takes both of them, but in return, and this is the kicker here. I believe what will happen. with this third option is like, let's say Haru decides. I said Haru. Oh my god. I mean, can't help it. Is what Shiki's going to do, I think, will be this. The likely outcome, I think, could be is that Shiki takes both. Okay? He takes both options. But what he decides to do is trade his own life in order for them, like, in order for both outcomes to come to fruition. Or maybe it's a case where Rebecca has a role in this too, because again, Rebecca and Shiki have been like super like closely linked together. Okay, I mean, for Christ's sake, Void is like, their unborn child. So I think this is either going to be a case where Shiki with this third option, because I do see this third option coming into play, will be he gives up his life in order for everybody else to live. Or the likelihood, not the likelihood, the other option, let's call it, you know, option 3A and option 3B. Option 3A is the one where Shiki decides to go out by himself in order for the situation with Mother to survive. Or this could be a case with where both Shiki and Rebecca simultaneously give up their lives. Now, how that comes about for the others, I have no idea, but it could be that. It could definitely be that, but I'm not sure if that's where Hero's gonna go. It's a direction I could see him taking, but we just gotta wait and see. We honestly just gotta wait and see with what Hero has in store for us for chapter 272. And plus, something I've been saying for like the longest time. Hero has had the bullet points of Eden Zero planned since the beginning. This all the story plot elements have been there. The one thing Hero always said is that the road to getting to those bullet points is where the weekly sensation of the weekly writing serialization was going to kick in. I mean, he always said this was going to be kind of like a blend between Fairy Tale and Rave Master, where with Rave Master, again, whole story was planned out, right? Eden and with Fairy Tale, you had the character backstory set, but he was kind of like writing it on the fly. And in this case with Eden Zero, he's got the story beats, but how to connect the dots is kind of where he's going on the fly with. Which again, an interesting take as a shonen mangaka, I will say. Especially like when you go from going from Rave Master to Fairy Tale was already one thing, but then again, when you go from Fairy Tale to Eden Zero and kind of slowly go back to the roots of what you did in Rave Master while combining like that element of going with the flow in Fairy Tale. I mean, like I said, thinking about it more, you're like, yeah, is it a double-edged sword? Sure, but it depends on like how you're approaching it. And I think for the most part, Hero's done a pretty decent job. He's done a pretty decent job of executing that with Eden Zero. It hasn't been perfect 100%, sure, but with what he's been able to deliver thus far, I think it's been great. And honestly speaking, I really, really cannot wait to see with what he gives us with chapter 272. I really cannot. Two things I'm expecting for next chapter. I do believe we're going to get something on what happened 20,000 years in the past between Shiki and the Mother, and what Shiki's answer is going to be. I do see those two things come to fruition. Now, what Hero is going to give us with those scenarios is what I'm sure many of us are going to be looking forward to. But with that being said, you guys, that is pretty much all I got to say when it comes to this week's chapter of Eden Zero. Overall, like I said before, it's a pure perfection chapter. What were your thoughts on the chapter? Did y'all guys love it? Did y'all have any gripes with the chapter? And where do you guys think we're gonna go with, you know, Eden Zero moving forward? And how much longer do you guys think we have left with the series? Because as it stands right now, we are 29 chapters away from chapter 300. Assuming that's where we end off Eden Zero. Because one thing I will say is 4 chapters from now, Volume 31 is going to be done. I don't necessarily think we're going to go past chapter 300. Like, the minimum end point for me, I think, will either be chapter 295, the likelihood, or chapter 300. That's the ballpark range I'm putting it at. Which would probably make it around, say, volume 34. Probably. But at this point, I'm kind of just rambling on, and I'm going to leave it at that, you guys. So, with that being said, you guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lucky7. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Eden Zero, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.